crypto warriors, changing our world day by day. The way of the crypto warriors, can't rely on the bankers, no way.
Good morning, Bix Weir, roadrunner.com. What's your morning horn of Z's, your sip of chaga coffee? It is Saturday morning. I got an email from Clif last night, or this morning, like early, talking about where we are and how the second half of this year is going to be so different than the first. It's going to be worse. I hate to tell you, this is year zero, and it's just going to get worse. If you think that our life has changed 10 times compared to what it was last year, these days, everything is different, right? The next 6 months are going to be 10 times more than this, is what basically his email said. So what do? You adapt, you go with it. All these strange energies from space, everybody freaking out. Everybody's on the edge. So many lies from our government, so many lies from the monetary system, so many lies from the social engineers. Lies everywhere. And it's going to get worse. 10 times worse. We're going to look back 6 months from now. We're going to be looking back and saying, oh my God, those days in the beginning of the year were so easy. I wish our life was like that before. It's very scary and very sad. But yeah, it's all coming true. Hey, if you want to get some of Clif High's old Alta reports and linguistic reports and all that stuff, go to halfpasthuman.com. Halfpasthuman.com. They're still up on the site for sale. And there's some good ones. My favorite, they're all really good, but my favorite is the third to last one he did right here, Soaring 20s, where he talks about now. He published back in 2017, like in the summer of 2007. He's talking about right now. Yes, there was a gap removed of 2 years. Now, I don't know how they did it, the timeline manipulators and all that, but 2 years was basically taken out. Trump and the Mnuchin, those guys slammed Bitcoin and the cryptos in order to have that gap, and also gold and silver, and massive more manipulation. But we are back on track, so definitely get the Soaring 20s report, halfpasthuman.com. Been doing a lot of work on Theta for private road members. I'm working on the Theta fuel ratio and what that should be, what we can expect, what the future holds for that. I'm not quite sure yet. So I'll get back to the private road members. If you want to join the private road, go to road2road.com. But definitely Theta is going to be integrated. Both the good guys and the bad guys want Theta to be integrated into our broadband network to fix the problem of overcapacity and all that's coming. It's kind of here. The big CDNs, the content delivery networks, are struggling already. You might notice at times you'll go onto Netflix and it'll just be turning. Things like that are happening. Imagine as we continue to expand, higher definition television experience, and then you got the internet. The internet in general can be run through the Theta network as well. So we might see an Internet 2.0. And I've talked about that a little bit, talked a lot about it on the private road. So go check out the private road. Here's something that's very interesting on Theta. This has to do with Theta, not Theta Fuel. But Theta, you go to the Theta, it's called the guardianmonitor.io, and you look at the nodes. So there's validator nodes and guardian nodes, and basically they're filling up fast. The idea was to have about 1,000 to start with. They can always expand this, 1,000 guardian nodes, and I don't know, a handful. Right now there's a dozen validator nodes. Those are the big guys. Google runs a validator node. Samsung runs a validator node. I mean, this is huge. And then 1,000 people on the front lines protecting the blockchain. 1,000 nodes. And right now, there's only 837 million Theta tokens out there. Now, they're only going to ever produce 1 billion. So there's 837 million out there, and already there's 470 2.1 million that are locked up and have been staked to guard the network. Now, with Theta at 23 cents or 22 cents right now, how long will it take to completely use all the Theta tokens to guard the network? And then what will the price of Theta be if the exchanges can't get any Theta at all? Because everybody's locking them up. We are right now at about 50-something% of all the Theta out there have been locked up already, and this is growing. Just the other day I looked at it, was 449 million tokens. Now it's 472 million. And it was under 800 Guardian nodes. Now there's 825. So if you're going to get a Guardian node, I would say get it now. Right now it's about, $2,200 to get 10,000 Theta and start a Guardian node, which is really easy to do. You just have to have the program running in the background to earn Theta fuel, and you'll earn Theta fuel with the Guardian node. So there's 175 Guardian nodes left to be had, and then they'll have to change the program or the parameters to facilitate more. Because I don't know if they said around 1,000 Guardian nodes. But that's the other thing. Do you want every single Theta token to be locked into a contract, into a staking contract? It takes 2 days or 60 hours to get it out. But what happens to the price of something when all the supply has been locked up in staking? It's not, you look at the dollar amounts, it's not hard to do at all, especially because of some of these big names in this. Samsung, Google, soon to be Apple, I believe. Because they know this is an amazing invention that gets around one of their biggest cost problems, and that's broadband bandwidth. Can they facilitate a high-tech future, the Internet of Things, working on the old system? I don't think so. So we will see. There's a few companies trying to do this. Clearly, Theta is out in front and getting the big guys on board. Because they don't want to build out a centralized network. They can't. It's too expensive. So those of you out there who are thinking, oh, maybe I should get some Theta and put it on, start a Guardian node. It's very simple. Just go to the Theta Medium webpage, and it'll, I think it's the second article or third article, it talks about how to set up a Guardian node. It's really beyond easy. So, there's only 175 spots left. Get yours today. Only $2,200. I think it's traded at 22 cents because you need 10,000. So there's your tip of the day. Here's something I want to talk about also. I've been talking about race with everybody else. I do have a fairly unique perspective, being a white human being, living in a very culturally diverse Oakland with a lot of black people, a lot of Hispanic people. It's a melting pot, and that's what I love about Oakland. And the only reason I'd move out of Oakland isn't because of the people in Oakland. It's because the system is not going to be kind to people living in cities. Like I said, the next 6 months, as Clif said, the next 6 months are going to be 10 times worse than the first 6 months of this year. That's pretty scary. But I've been saying there's plenty of bad guys trying to co-opt the Black Lives Matter movement. There's a movement, and then there's this controlling thing where you give donations, it goes to the Democratic Party. And that's what I want to talk about very briefly today, is that all my black friends out there, and if you are black, really look into your elected officials. Which party do you think is more positive for a Black Lives Matter movement? If you only have two to choice, the choice should be start your own movement, and everybody should get out of the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. We need more movements, and I think that would be a very powerful movement if African Americans did that. But for right now, it is clear. It should be clear to everybody. Black Lives Matter movement up above, not the ideology, but the up above, the people who run it are being run by the controllers, George Soros and that gang. And all that money is going into the Democrats when they shouldn't, and I'll show you in a second. But here from Zero Hedge, BLM co-founder admits, our goal is to get Trump out. So if they get Trump out, that means a Democrat is put in his place, and the Democrats are the slavery party. And they have been for a hell of a long time. And I hope everybody understands that the racism, the holding down of the black population was mainly political. And I think it's 88% of the black population votes for Democrat, even though 80 years of pain and suffering, and they haven't been able to do anything for the people. For the black communities, it just gets worse and worse. And yes, you should be blaming politicians, but not Trump. Joe Biden has been a lifelong politician fighting for the black communities, he said. Well, what has he achieved over his lifelong, other than making millions and billions of dollars for him and his son? What has he achieved? Here's a short history of Democrats and Republicans and racism. And these facts might scare some of you Democrats out there. Fact, the Republican Party was founded primarily to oppose slavery, and Republicans eventually abolished slavery. The Democrats were in the South. Republicans were in the North. The Democratic Party fought them and tried to maintain and expand slavery. The 13th Amendment abolished slavery, passed in 1865 with 100% Republican support and only 23% Democratic support in Congress. Fact, during the Civil War era, radical Republicans, as they were called, were given the name because they wanted to not only end slavery, but also to endow the freed slaves with full citizenship, equality, and rights. That was during the Civil War. Come on, people. If you're black, do not vote for the slavery party. It's obvious. Fact, Lincoln's Vice President Andrew Johnson was a strongly pro-union, also pro-slavery Democrat, who had been chosen by Lincoln as a compromise running mate to attract Democrats. After Lincoln was assassinated, Johnson thwarted Republican efforts in Congress to recognize the civil rights of the free slaves, and Southern Democrats continued to thwart any efforts for close to a century. And that's true. Juneteenth was all about 2.5 years after Lincoln freed the slaves did they actually become free in Texas. Fact, the Ku Klux Klan was originally and primarily an arm of the Southern Democratic Party. Its mission was to terrorize freed slaves. Fact, 1950s, Eisenhower, a Republican, integrated U.S. Army and promoted civil rights for minorities. Fact, these are facts, historic civil rights of 1964 was supported by a higher percentage of Republicans than Democrats in both houses. Fact, contrary to popular misconception, the parties never switched on racism. The Democrats just switched from overt racism to a subversive strategy of getting blacks as dependent as possible on government to secure their votes. At the same time, they began a cynical smear campaign to label everyone who opposes their devious strategy as greedy racists. That's exactly what it's. Do we give people a hand out or a hand up? And every black person I've talked to, they'd rather have a hand up than a hand out. But they want something. The Democrats, they give you a hand out, but they do not. And they cannot bring you up. Why? Because then they lose votes. It is all bullshit. The whole black community voting for Democrats. How has it served you? I think that Trump said that in the last election. What have you got to lose by switching parties? Because clearly the Democrats have a different agenda. And that is shown out right here. BLM, Black Lives Matter, founder admits, our goal is to get Trump out. This is a CNN interview. Jake Tapper. I've heard a lot of criticism of former President Joe Biden from civil rights activists. The election obviously will be a choice. How do you think Biden matches up compared to President Trump when it comes to these issues that are important to you? And Patrice Cullors of BLM. Trump not only needs to not be in office in November, but he should resign now. Trump needs to be out of office. He is not fit for office. And so what we are going to do to push for is a move to get Trump out. While we're also going to continue to push and pressure Vice President Joe Biden around his policies and relationships to policing and criminalization, that's going to be important. But our goal is to get Trump out. This is again a difference between Black Lives Matter, the concept, the reality, and racism, versus Black Lives Matter, the political group funded with an agenda by George Soros and friends. My black friends out there, do your homework. The Democrats are not your friends. Any politician, I would say any. I wouldn't support any. I'd go start my own party. And that's what might happen. And down the line, it will happen. Both Democrats and Republican parties will be tossed out. And it might be this chaos that Clif is talking about that gets us to a point. There's been a lot of psychics say, hey, Trump's our last president. There might not be an election because of the chaos that's coming down. And I think it's going to hit the financial chaos, which is really interesting. All right. I want to play this great, this from Q, posted this, an amazing young woman asked some really good questions. Everybody listen up here.
When Donald Trump wants a wall around our southern border, it's considered racist. But domestic terrorists who take over a 6x6 block in Washington is considered patriotic. Joe Biden is allowed to blackmail the president of Ukraine, but when Donald Trump asks about it, that's an impeachable offense. A $5 billion border wall is apparently too expensive, but a $1.5 trillion free healthcare system is apparently achievable. People who never owned slaves have to pay reparations to people who never were slaves. I'm not allowed to cheat to get into college because I'll go to jail, but if I cheat to get into this country, I get free everything. People who never went to college have to pay for kids who made stupid choices and decided to go to college. We're catching and releasing criminals because apparently it's an infringement on their right. I'm not allowed to purchase a firearm, but you're totally allowed to go purchase drugs, alcohol, and get an abortion. Irish and German scientists and engineers have to go through a very serious vetting process before being admitted into the United States, but immigrants from our southern border get to come in whenever they want.
Wow. Absolutely. The younger crowd is waking up. And they have a lot of studying to do and a lot of learning, and they're very passionate about it, and they're going at it. Hey, if you got younger kids in your family, or if you're young yourself, or you just want to get a better idea, go follow Road to Ruta, Bix Weir on Instagram. My daughter Paige is doing it, and an amazing, amazing woman. Watch the video that we posted the other day, and her job, she's told me she wants to translate what I say so that the younger generation can figure out the crap I talk about. I think it's wonderful. Make sure you go there, follow. 500 followers already. Hey, I got 60,000 on YouTube. Why don't all 60,000 of you go and sign up with Instagram, Bix Weir, to follow Paige? You will not regret it. All right, that's all I got for you today. Insane. If you want to get yourself some theta and don't know what's going on, hit subscribe today. I'm giving out 100 theta and 100 theta fuel loaded on a paper wallet, so you don't have to be savvy in cryptos, and mailed to your front door. For a 1-year subscription or a 1-year renewal on the private road. This is Bix Weir. I'll talk to you guys later.